I'm only stopping just to compliment her vocal performance of that one note. Hey everyone, how's it going? For those of you who are new here, my name is Jacob Williams. I am a professional music producer and composer, and today we're going to check out another highly anticipated, highly requested album. I'm going to listen to it for the first time and sort of go through and dissect some of the fun bits that I hear with my producer ears, and maybe we'll chat about what makes it awesome, what makes it interesting, what makes it emotionally compelling, etc. I like kind of dissecting, going under the hood of songs and sort of finding like, oh, that part's really interesting and that's why. I do want to address, I'm sorry for the slowdown in uploads. I know I made some posts about it and you guys have been really nice about it, but still I wanted to address it on a video. I've just been so unexpectedly busy. Usually winter is like slow season for production and composition work, but I am literally slammed. I got that going on. I got some stuff I want to do for my solo music that I've had planned for over a year now, so it's literally just been a culmination of just stuff that's just swelled into my lap that I've had to get done. And thank you guys so much for being so understanding and so patient with me. But here we are. We got a new fresh upload for Friday. I did really want to check out the Afterglow. I think it's the Afterglow edition of Eusexua, or maybe it's like a whole new album entirely called Afterglow. I'm not sure. I haven't done a whole lot of reading, but you guys have told me about it. You guys have wanted it. That literally comes out this Friday. I wanted that to be this week's video, but unfortunately it's Wednesday right now as I'm talking to you guys through the camera. So I literally I film early in the week and I edit in the middle of the week. So that's just not going to happen this week. Maybe next week. I'm actually kind of down to do maybe that and Capper songs right after that. But bottom line is, here's our history on this channel with FKA TWIGS. You guys introduced me to her music with Eusexua. I thought that album was really surprising. It had a lot of emotional textures as well as just electronic beats that just hit out of nowhere, as well as some really cool ambient indie folk. I don't even know what else you want to throw into that mix, but essentially it gave me a very diverse window into who Twigs is as an artist. I also really liked the more slow-paced yet heavily textured Magdalene, considered by many to be Twigs' sort of magnum opus, but a lot of you also say the same thing about LP1, which we are listening to today. So I remember seeing this album cover floating around the internet around the time Twigs first started releasing music. I was interested to check it out because I thought the album art was just kind of compelling, and I was interested in checking out new music at the time, but I just, for some reason, never got around to it. That seems to be a running theme around here, and things that I tend to say to you guys when it comes to artists. I usually hear about people and I usually hear about bands or artists releasing stuff, but whether I take the actual step forward to listen is a whole other thing entirely. So let's go ahead and dive right in, see what's in store for us. Let's start with track 1, Preface. Ooh, okay. Loving that riser leading us into the next part already. But I do want to touch up on something very key right now. So one thing you guys were telling me about pretty early on in our sort of journey here with Twigs' music is the songs Keep It, Hold It, and one other one off of Magdalene. I'm not remembering it right now, but that style that's very operatic and uses her vocals in a very operatic way is a staple in her sound. And that's what you guys told me, like a mixture of that and some of her more electronic tinged stuff. And I'm noticing just right out the gate, that's what we're greeted with, is this really nice operatic vocal stack. And I'm interested to see what this sort of riser percussion beat thing leads us to. Ooh. All right. Ooh. Oh, what is happening? So far, this song feels like a culmination of everything I've heard from her discography past this point. It's almost as if she like set the tone of what is to like be expected or what is to come with her sound, because I'm hearing all these like industrial electronic synths. I'm hearing the like operatic vocal notes coming back into the fold, leaving the fold, and giving way to these very distorted, very garbled, almost Death Grips-esque industrial rap vocals. I almost want to say they're samples because they sound like a different voice, or it could be her voice running through a pitch modulator maybe. That introduction was equally pretty as much as it was strange, experimental, weird, and disturbing, but in a really pretty way. Like I felt like I just got abducted by aliens and also sang to in a very beautiful way. I'm really enjoying the way that everything kind of rises up and swells. It does remind me of a lot of stuff we heard on Eusexua, but it also still gives me that warm-toned sort of I don't even know how to explain it, you guys. It's like a nice padding and a nice vocal bed glued together with a multiband compressor. Lots of cool little reverbs on here, lots of cool little distortions. Let's see how this translates into track 2, Lights On. I almost feel like Twigs is establishing a whole new genre here. It's like industrial folk. Did I say that in any of our other videos? Because that sounds like a familiar thing to say. That sounds like something I would have said before. But I'm loving the low-key introduction of her vocals here. It's not vocals right out the gate. It kind of leaves you hanging in suspense a little bit with some of those synths and some of those plucks and some of the interesting like atmospheric pads.
The shadows that make the girl you undo. Because the man that you are is defined by the way that you act in the light. Break or cease me. If the flame gets blown out in your shine, I will know that you cannot be mine. Live or leave me.
Ooh, nice falsetto right there. That was a really nice falsetto with a little bit of a vibrato. Oh, that is hard to do. That is really hard to do because you have to have your voice sit in a very airy space in your throat without even needing any sort of reverb. You have to have it glide on your air a little bit, and then you have to vibrate it. So very hard to do technique. Loved that. I already know that Twigs is capable of doing stuff like that, but again, I'm looking for things that are making the song effective, and that is definitely something so far that's allowing me to go, okay, yeah, what's next? What's around the corner? Oh. Oh, ooh, that was about to go into something really cool, but I'm liking the sort of shift into R&B right there. That's the other thing I was looking for earlier when I was coming up with genres that Twigs sort of embodies. I was going to throw R&B into the mix as well. But what's making it sort of pop to me are these really cool sticks, like these little stick percussion things that are getting hit and panned over to the right and the left going whoosh. That right there is keeping this very interesting, using almost ethnic like percussion to keep it very world sounding. Ooh. There's also these things that I'm hearing in the background. I heard it in the verse. I don't know if it's a guitar or if it's a synth. It sounds like it could be either or, and it's just run through a processing chain. But it's doing a very almost jazzy melody underneath everything. Some parts, it almost sounds like it's going dissonantly with the vocal on purpose to create some sort of like tension, and then it releases before certain notes are executed. Nice. Oh. I'm almost hearing a bass guitar as well, or it sounds like a bass just going boom, and it's being high processed into the like high mid range, kind of vibrating right there with a bit of distortion instead of going into the low bass. So like the equalizer is just totally cutting off all of those sub frequencies on it, and it's just kind of going vibrating in that sort of crunchy upper mid section. Okay. Ooh, okay. Stop. We talked about Mass Effect a lot, we've talked about Massive Attack a lot on this channel, and I have to say that little break sounds like Massive Attack, but the part before it still has that R&B leaning mood to it, but it's still got those experimental textures coming in. And I actually noticed on this chorus, things are progressing a little bit. They're not staying the same. They're not the same arrangement. So here you can actually hear more pads coming in. You can hear like another lead crossing over into the midsections, not overlapping with her voice. The producer or her or whoever's in charge of mixing this is leaving a lot of room for her voice to shine without it getting too sticky with all the mids. Mids are the hardest frequencies to mix, by the way, you guys. When it comes to making music and making instruments sit with each other, pesky mids. Mids are literally like the hardest part of the entire process because there's so many frequencies present in mids, not so much highs where hi-hats are or lows where bass and kick drums are, but everything in between is a battlefield. It is literally a war zone when it comes to mixing. So hearing that done with all these nice little noises is interesting. I think I said that on the Magdalene video. There was a lot of moments that had just this nice, you could tell there's a lot of things happening in the mix, but they're tucked very smoothly with a decent chunk of compression, probably a lot of hard compression. You just can't tell because the levels, like the volume fader, is very low. But overall, I'm really liking this. It's a very nice, moody piece of music. Wow. Ooh. I needed a moment to dissect what that was. It sounds like her voice running through two chains, one being a talk box and one being a vocoder, and someone playing it on the keyboard just going and doing like almost like a jazzy R&B like motif up and down in intervals, almost treating her voice like a riff. And I'm a sucker for stuff like that. I love anything heavily vocal modulated or ways of treating the human voice like an instrument, and that is a good way to do it. It again sounds like a dual signal. It doesn't sound like it's a talk box only, and it also doesn't sound like a vocoder only. It sounds like both, one being more on the right side of the stereo field and the other being on the left side of the stereo field. I'm also really liking a lot of those interesting crunchy drum textures and that reverse thing leading us out of this section. we have a counter rhythm, people. We have a counter rhythm. So we have, it sounds almost like those cabasas or like shakers, those things that you go like this, those little kind of rolly percussion things, but it's going like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 instead of 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. So it's a counter rhythm going against the grain of what the chorus vocal is used to going with, if that makes sense.
When I trust you, won't ignore until the morning. Let me tell you all the secrets and I whisper till it's taste.
Oh, another thing that makes this song unique, not necessarily something that makes it pop and makes it catchy per se, but something that makes it memorable, is this really bouncy way of dialing in the 808. I know you hear it if you use headphones that have really good bass reception in them. You'll hear the doing a rapid like dotted 16th going down, almost like a concert jazz sort of fill, but it's just being played with the 808 bass. So it's an interesting way to use it instead of just having it only take place in the super low end below the kick drums.
When I trust you, we can do it with a right song. When I trust you, we can do it with a right song. When I trust you, we can do it with a right song. When I trust you, we can do it with a right song. When I trust you, we make love until the morning. Let me tell you all the secrets, trust you, we can do it with a right song. When I trust you, we make love until the morning. Let me tell you all the secrets and I whisper till it tastes.
That was a cool outro. So everything came through. It actually got more distorted. So the keyboard layers, the pads, the guitars, the drums, all of it got more distorted. And we actually had a guitar solo hidden in the back right there. And there's a lot of textures. Like with a lot of Twigs' music, there's a lot of textures. There's a lot of more granular things for you to really reach out and listen to. I'd have to be here for a very long time if you wanted to hear what absolutely everything is on the inside of the song. But I heard a lot of things I enjoyed, and that is for sure. I really enjoyed the overall mood of that song. It sounds like it would be a single because it's just got that moody sort of thing. And around the time of 2014, dark pop and darker alternative R&B was sort of in, as they said back then. It was starting to become a little more trendy with some of these artists that I'm going to throw up in the edit. I mean, it was just huge. It was a big wave of music at the time when I was in high school leading into college. So yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that wasn't chosen as a single, but it looks like based on the play counts on this album, we are approaching the lead single or the most popular song from this album, which is 2 Weeks. Let's go ahead and check that out. Oh.
I know it hurts. You know I'd quench that thirst.
Ooh.
I can teach you say you're lonely. I say you think about it.
I'm only stopping just to compliment her vocal performance of that one note. I think the lyric was lonely, but the way that she bent up into falsetto and it sounded so clean, I really wanted to draw some attention right there away from the production for a second to just compliment that note and that performance. I mean, the performance as a whole is great, but it had so much character. That one note with a little bit of chest, a little bit of falsetto. It's kind of sitting in the mix. It has this nice sort of big vibrating tendency, and it just sounded powerful. It sounded big, especially with the way that it was mixed with not a ton of compression. So it felt very organic, felt like it wasn't really held back from anything or trying to be glued too much within the mix. And I can appreciate that. That sounded actually really, really, really good.
You're the only
Yeah, that kind of like that.
who resonates that chase mouth open like
Ooh. I mean this in the best way possible. Is there anybody else that's getting Flume Skin vibes from this? Like getting Never Be Like You? That's what this is giving me. That very mid 2010s sort of electro pop, electronic pop, alternative pop kind of thing. Loving how big and lush the synths are and the percussion pans, and even the chord progression is really reminding me, like, this sounds like a song that would come off of, like, I don't know, a B-side from Skin. Yeah, what an incredible little chorus lift right there, leading from, and you know what I was going to say? I was going to say that before the chorus happened, I was going to say this is cool because we're using a lot of darker tones, but for a happier, more uplifting kind of pop song, bass heavy, chill wave, sort of experimental trap, flume kind of stuff. Oh, yeah. Oh, beautiful vocals. I'm such a sucker for those kinds of keyboards and synths, you guys, like the ones that sound very flumey and they're kind of heavily LFO'd, like boom, 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 future bass keys. I know that they've been sort of popularized and used in different forms and different genres across the genre spectrum. I mean, sometimes you even hear them in rock music. Oh, nice LFO. Oh.
I say you live without it, unless you're the only one who instigates. Get your mouth open, your heart.
Oh. Very nice. Ooh, okay. Okay, I was wondering what was going to happen around the bridge section because the chorus and the chorus 1, chorus 2, verse 1, verse 2 were pretty uniform. But leading into the bridge here, we kind of got a more stomping sort of percussion section, like as if it's sort of focusing more on the drums and on the bass. But I'm loving how big and lush those production layers were. Lots of keyboard layers, lots of bass layers, lots of almost like hidden vocal chops and vocal swells and little like extra samples sort of filling out that mid-range. Now we're in the bridge and everything's sort of coming to these like big stomping sort of toms and like electronic drum samples. I'm really digging that because it sounds a bit more on the rock side of things, just a little bit more indie rock than anything else, but it's giving that energy regardless of the instrument choice. Very nice. You know what's kind of crazy about this? You hear that synth coming up. So that's the first thing. I'm going to say a couple of things here. You hear that synth just kind of going. I can't tell if that's ARPed or if that's just a note being held down and it's being tremoloed or like pedal boarded, you know, to kind of sound like that. I'm so sorry, I was away from the mic. Like, you know what I mean? I can't tell if it's like the processing making it sound that way or if on the actual synth they put the ARP button on as they were playing it. Oh. This is cool because you're almost hearing new stuff come into the fold, but it doesn't sound like it at first. Like normally you would need probably a couple more listens to hear all these little additive layers coming in here, but I'm hearing like an electric piano come in here. Almost sounds like a bell. I'm also hearing like another hi-hat layer coming in and maybe a guitar thing. It's really hard to tell, but this final chorus I can tell already has a bit more layering to just get it to that next point. There's a snare back there, so not the really rapid ones kind of flying in the panning, but there's there. I don't know how I didn't hear this earlier unless it just got introduced into the arrangement, but there's a snare there that's kind of got that really cool. I know Crane does it. I know Flume does it. There's a lot of producers that use these sort of like snare shots, but it's got like a lot of reverb on it, but it's parallel compressed or it's parallel processed so that the actual sound itself isn't just coated in reverb. Instead, you hear like the main sound at the center of it, but the rest of it just kind of trails off into this big like reverb cloud. So this, oh, it's just a trail off, but you guys get what I'm saying. I like these neat little noises. That was a very pretty song. I liked it. I think it definitely deserves the single spot. I think it's kind of a good song to get into her music. Like, it doesn't take you too deep down the rabbit hole. It kind of introduces you to her vocal range, doesn't use too many strange sounds that sort of tug at you or make you go, wow, that was kind of weird. So if you're more into just pop music and R&B in general, or like I said, the Flume kind of experimentation where there's a little bit of ear candy but it's not too much, that's actually a really good song to introduce people to Twigs with. So it's a pretty safe one. Let's move on to track 4, Hours. Ooh, that was going to be something cool. I could tell already. Loving the electric piano. Electric piano is a very underrated instrument. It's got a lot of warm tones, and you can actually use a lot of different compressors to bring out some of those warm tones and give it a bit more character, kind of give it a more squashed sort of feel in the mix. And other than that, there was like this really heavily high-passed synth kind of whirring in the background, almost resampled from something else to kind of sound like it's coming from a speaker box or something. Ooh. What an interesting take on trip hop. This is literally, I'm hoping the rest of the song is like this because it's got that really nice, moody, slow moving acid jazz trip hop kind of thing. Very Massive Attack, Mezzanine. I know you guys want me to check out Bjork as well, but Bjork, from what I've heard, also has some of that really nice experimental moodiness, Portishead. So really liking that so far. Let's keep the vibes going. Loving all the crunchy, dusty textures on this one. Oh, whoa. That bass is so ground shaking. Like, I can literally feel it in these headphones just going low and coming up. And it's a bass guitar. I think it's like a 5, it sounds like a 5 or 6 string bass, like just something really low, just kind of going brrr, brrr, just rolling under that beat. It sounds a little too organically slidey to be a synth. So I would actually be surprised if it was. It could be like a portamento synth bass, but it sounds too organic. It's got to be a legitimate, sort of bass guitar slide playing and rumbling under that. Oh, loving the mood here, you guys. This is a good one. Oh. Her vocal ability is so good here. It's great. It has these very nice operatic textures, or these operatic qualities, kind of like what I said in track 1. It's got this very big, wide chamber pop atmosphere to it. At least that's sort of what they're dialing in here. But the thing that keeps making me come back and keeps making me compelled by this is these different bass lines, because we went from that bass guitar and now it's like this low hitting 808 that's just hitting one note, and then it was that kind of like cut off synth where it was just going like this on the mod wheel, just slowly going up towards the end. I'm a sucker for really creative bass in the arrangement because bass is where the energy is. People sometimes think it's the drums. It is to a certain extent, but bass really tells the listener when things are getting intense versus when they're not. Oh, yeah, right there. Nice vocal processing. I love that. It sounds like it's going through like a metallic like ring shifter and like a little light phaser, and the lower layer is just being ran through a basic compressor. But it's got this very like eerie quality to it. And I remember mentioning that on a couple of, I think it was Magdalene songs. On Magdalene, there was a lot of that kind of creepiness, uneasiness to some of the songs on there. Some of that is already present on this album. Oh, nice right there. You hear it? We got the synth over here. We got the percussion snaps over here. What is happening? Till the stars fade out. How would you like it if I slept before I bite, but it wasn't too hard, so it felt alright. How would you like it if I held you in my arms? Oh. The textures are just getting more present, more layered as the verse goes into the pre-chorus. And I just feel the need to explain that because sometimes it's very easy to just sit here and go, oh, it's a loop, it's the beat, it's on loop. No, there's like little things being added per section. If you really sit here and listen to it, or if you've listened to the song for hours, you would hear just these little crunchy sort of like things building up, not just in the percussion, but even in the synths. I'm hearing something over here, and I'm also hearing just a little ticking below everything. There's just so many small layers mixed very low in volume. It's actually a smarter way to achieve maximalism because you can fill out your mix space without sacrificing from the vocals, because the vocals are still very present in the mix. Oh, nice LFOs. So right there's two cool things happening. So the drum fills that are happening between each beat. So you have the boom, boom, ka, boom, ka. Like that's like the main beat. But then you're hearing these doom, doom, like sampled toms kind of stacked in a certain way. They almost sound like they're from a completely different drum recording or drum kit or drum sample pack, whatever is being used on here. Sounds like it's being used from a separate place intentionally to add more color, add more variety to the samples, make it sound more boxy or like chopped up, trying to make it sound a little less consistent in terms of the tonal balance. And then we also had those synths right there, kind of boom, 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 after she sings. So it's a call and response. It's she's doing one thing and then an instrument is responding to it. So it's a call for something else to fill in the mix, and then that comes through and fills in the rest of the rhythm or fills in the rest of the idea without it becoming too redundant from the vocal doing it. Ooh, big atmosphere. I like the different melody being sung here for the bridge. But most importantly, you guys know me, I go straight for instrumental stuff when I can because that's just where my brain goes. That electric piano we heard at the beginning is doing like a different thing now. Instead of sticking to the lower notes like on the chords, it's playing a bit of a higher motif or like riff up there, like way high up in the range, like boop, 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 It's just way up there, and it's supposed to keep your attention on the highs when nothing is there, because right now there's no hi-hats, there's no like strings, there's nothing that like occupies that area. So having another instrument take over is a good way to change it up. It also makes it sound very acid jazz, because a lot of acid jazz and trip hop that I remember listening to growing up had a lot of that sort of like, you just have this really cool warbly sample, just sort of providing more context, providing more atmosphere to the backing of the beat. And that's what's being done here. Ooh. Very cool. I'm here for it. Oh. Twigs gets the music producer A+ for vocal modulation choices on this. That was absolutely incredible. I loved having that repeatable vocal sample being hit behind the main hook, or the main like vocal track, and then slowly it just descended into madness. It just descended into more pitch modulation, more pitch bending, more pitched down layers, and then a final brrrr to end the song. So I really enjoyed that. I thought it was experimental. It was cool. It was different, and it still had a very moody, consistent atmosphere. It wasn't so experimental to the point where I lost track of time, or I lost track of the beat itself or the pacing of the song. That was actually a really interesting follow-up to 2 weeks. Instead of another poppy cut, we got one that was a bit more atmospheric, a bit more open. That is definitely a favorite. Let's move on to track 5, Pendulum. Good, love the panning going between. Ooh. Hold on, that's a lot going on within like 20 seconds, let me tell you. So we got that, those harmonies, right? So the harmonies are kind of the main thing that's brought to the forefront of the mix right here. Like you got one in the high, one in the low, and like two. One's at like a +7, so it's hitting the dominant note of the chord, and the other one's hitting like the second note of the chord. So it's like a sustained chord, maybe? Hard to tell. But it's very interesting. It sounds really pleasant to the ears. It doesn't sound typical. Like it doesn't sound like a triad. It sounds like definitely a sustained chord for sure. And we got all these interesting, very interesting textures. Like, let me listen again. Hold on. Yeah, like all these like panned drums going left and going right. And we also have this like drone synth just playing the same note through that. That way everything else has movement around it. Ooh. This is very Bon Iver, 22 a million. A lot of textures spiraling, lots of synth work back there, just going whoop, 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 whoop. Lots of reverse pianos. I've got time, but you're tired of waiting. You only want me in open spaces. Ooh, nice vocals. So lonely, we need to stop because I'm going to forget everything. What a cool way to just progress everything with just texture, melody, harmonies. And we don't get bass until the first chorus. So about a minute and a half in. And I love when songs do that because, like I was mentioning earlier, bass is the ultimate like energy sort of giver of your song, right? It provides the bottom chordal context of what's going on, or it can provide some sort of bottom harmonical context to your song. It literally embodies where your song is going in terms of pacing and just energy. That's the best way to describe it because it vibrates the strongest out of all the frequencies. Now, goes down. It actually descends. It's not like a super like 1 5 6 4. So it's not pop. It's actually more soul or like jazz inspired, where it's kind of drifting, going between and actually going 1 2 3, almost going down in intervals there when it comes to the scale that the song's written in. And I kind of like that because, again, a lot of folk relies on that sort of starting one place and descending down as the story is being told. So it kind of has a little bit of that to it, while also being very electronic, modern, experimental, you name it. Yeah, right there. Yeah. This is cool because the synth work in the back is very harmonic. It's also spiraling in, out, up, down, fading around. Like, it's doing all kinds of stuff back there. And I could just get lost in it. I could literally just sit here and just listen to that on repeat, just and just let my mind wander. I love it because it's almost got a little bit of shoegaze to it, but not strong enough to where it's just literally droning out into literal space. Ooh. Lots of reverse keyboards. I'm literally like, what is happening? Because it sounds very similar actually to 2 Weeks. Like, it's got that very swelling sort of skin, flume skin vibe to it. But it's got like these guitars that come in too. It's got these like very swirling synths that aren't as like, I don't even want to say it like this, but I'm going to. They're not as structured as they are on a project like Skin. They're more free floating, right? Like, they embody different pockets of the musical bed. And as things pick up into the chorus and the bass starts to translate the energy and we get the swirling hi-hats and everything going with Twigs's voice, things sort of follow that, right? Like, so they were free floating in the verses. Now they're sort of becoming more uniform and starting to harmonically glide over everything as the chorus is unveiling itself. So it's a really interesting movement in this song, almost like a pendulum swinging back and forth. Nice. Ooh, a little more jazzy. We have some 7 chords and some 9 chords being added here. Sorry, add 9. More out there, a bit more progressive. And that's kind of how it's feeling in comparison to the chorus, or the chorus leading into this little lovely bridge that we have right here. Ooh. That was a lot to take in, right? That was like vocal chops. Then that was like weird vocalizations also harmonizing with the vocal chops, and like those kind of ad libs, setting the speed because the drums weren't. Yeah, that was just a nice little vocal bed. I wanted to call some attention to that. Yeah, that. Nice harmonies, nice harmonies. Keep it up.
when you're looking for so much more.
Oh, nice. Oh. Fantastic. That was an amazing track. That was an amazing progression for that track. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to that and sort of trying to break it apart, but I'm just going to leave it at this. The percussion arrangement game, fantastic. Lots of stutters, lots of different chops being used in so many different ways, and great vocal game, especially just really everything. Even when I sit here, all the movements, all the instruments were just in the right place for the type of experimentation Twigs was going at in a very early start to her career. I mean, has she done any music before this, or was it just like, here's LP1, I'm an artist, you know, many more to come? Like, what is sort of Twigs's history when it comes to performing and putting music together? Was she an artist before FKA Twigs? Because this sounds pretty intricate and advanced for a first project. I'm thoroughly enjoying it so far. Let's move on to track 6, Video Girl. Big re-space right there.
Girls from the video. Was she the girls from the video? Was she the girls from the video? You lying, you lying, you lying. 19 to keep looking at the game, though, trying to make a stand for the main squeeze. You don't stand a chance. Stop acting like you can. The camera's
Lots of rhythms, you guys. Like, R&B and jazz rhyths are happening all over this, and I like that the bass was actually presenting like the song was going to have a slower pace, but it had a very skippy rhythm. Boom, 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 but then it was like a little jazzy, right? Like it had a bit of swing to it more so.
found good love, so nothing's gonna get in your way. You're gonna get yourself broke one day. Was she the girl that's from the video?
Loving that harmonic game right there. Again, it's sounding very Flume Skin era. I'm gonna keep saying that because it just sounds like these vocals belong on that. It just totally sounds like that. It's got this similar kind of like wavy, multi-layered quality to it.
She the girl that's from the video.
Oh, wobbly bass too. Very nice. Keep it coming.
To me, she the girl that's from the video. Was she the girl that's
That was a cool post-chorus because it's like it wanted to be instrumental, but Twigs also wanted to fill out that vocal bed a bit, so we just got a lot of ha 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 ha, almost like a chanty sort of thing happening back there with the synths. Very nice touch. I'm also liking that it keeps the trip hopness a little bit, right? Like this is completely different than what we heard on songs like Ours and some of the stuff on even Eusexua and Magdalene, but it still has that influence deep in there, but it's a little more fit for like alternative pop, I would say.
I see a body
Ooh,
that
guitars
can
coming in.
move the
You hear that?
hardest in the room with all eyes on you now. What you gonna do? The camera knows you ain't that enough. You're craving for the whole universe, so nothing's gonna get in your way. You're gonna get yourself broke one day.
I think I like the pre-chorus the most on here because it's got a bit of a jumpy, catchy energy to it. It's got a nice, nicely written top line too. And it leads into the chorus in a very interesting way. And right here, I almost feel like it's going to lead us into a bridge first. I'm getting that vibe. I'm almost getting pre-chorus, bridge, chorus. No, I'm not right. It's nice though. Ooh, that was a cool transition to the bridge because it almost felt like a drop off, right? Like in EDM, they do this a lot where it's like, boom, a couple bars of like either silence or the instruments sort of calming down for a little bit. Instead, it was just like, boom, whoop, like just a bunch of different sounds dialing in and like leading us into this bridge right here. I'm really enjoying those pitch down snares. Those sound really satisfying to my ears right now. That was cool. It almost kind of reminded me of Magdalene Bay in a sense, that little outro kind of leading us out and like slowing down and finding a more avant-garde way or progressive way of kind of easing out of the mix instead of just like chord progression, boom, you're done, or just a final chord for the song. I usually prefer the more pop approach personally, but I do really, really like the way that sort of transitioned out or sort of barreled out of the arrangement. Very interesting. And the song as a whole had a really cool collection of textures, rhythms, lots of interesting ways to keep the soul intact in her music. And yeah, again, when it came to Twigs' music, and I said this before, I know I said it for one of our past videos that we've talked about her and her music, but the way that she utilizes different sounds is a main recipe for what she does. Like, if she just stuck to one of these, it wouldn't be the full package. It wouldn't be everything that she's clearly capable of doing. So what makes her music special is how strange it might sound, but then it also doesn't, because it's structured a certain way. It's presented in a certain way that doesn't feel odd. Even though if you really sit there and think, you're like, wow, this is a lot of unconventional sounds somehow working together in this mix. It's actually quite nice. Let's move on to track 7, Numbers. Ooh, very detuned and very crunchy right out the gate. Lots of detune happening, lots of like bit crush saturation happening on this. Let's see how it moves. Ooh. Very dark and scary. Lots of dissonance too. Lots of like just little dissonant melodies in the background. I don't even want to say minor key because it's very almost kind of going down and up and very rough half steps. And you know what I always say? Well, I haven't said this on this channel yet, but don't judge a song by its intro. Ooh, okay.
Was I just a number to you? Was I just a lonely girl to find? Tonight I've got an answer for you. Tonight you want to live or die.
So yeah, she's going for this very dissonantly sculpted beat, lots of dissonant textures just sort of chiming in and out left and right, ping-ponging as I like to say, but it's very dissonant. It's supposed to go for that very jazz trip hop kind of feel. It's interesting. And then hearing her sing over it in a more diatonic tone makes me wonder if the song is going to progress and become more diatonic as we go. Ooh, there we go. Ooh, that was a cool chorus, and I like the way it was abruptly kind of canceled out and then brought back to the dissonant textures and the skippy drum beats. But what I like the most about it, and what I don't know if you guys also like have caught this if you're listening to this for the first time as well, but what I really like is, so we had those sort of swoopy whoop 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 sort of keyboards in the dissonant part, and then when things picked up and became more diatonic, became more on scale, on key, those keyboards were running. But then if you listen very carefully, you'll hear like a little wah, 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 wah in the very far back of the mix. So it's like still there, filling out, providing texture, but it's not so dominant, right? Like the new like melodic keyboards kind of take over there. Same with maybe just some heavier drum work. And let's see if it comes back and does the same thing. Whoa, interesting. Ooh. Lots of reversed vocal sampling going on there. Lots of heavy sound design too. For being so early in her career, this was definitely something that she wanted to keep going with each album, was just really, really abstract and heavy sound design. Got the panning happening. Got the panning happening with those claps right there. And I'm feeling like this is not a pre-chorus. This is definitely a bridge. So maybe we'll get that chorus coming back in a second here, unless this is more of an interlude leading us into track 8, Closer. There we go. Ooh. Ooh. I'm loving all these different ways to use her voice on some of these. Like it's just going ha 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 ha, and then she has another thing kind of going like over on the left. Like there's a lot of harmonies in this mix here. Ooh. Oh. That loud synth was really cool too. It was very high, whiny, like sine wave with a bunch of like chorus and distortion on it. Bravo. Bravo. That was cool. That was almost kind of reminded me of one of the interlude tracks off of Because the Internet by Childish Gambino. Like it had a bit of those industrial hip hop sort of tendencies to it. And honestly, this album is filling out a lot of context for me that I wish I had going into some of her later works. But you know me, I like checking stuff out of order. That's just how we do here. That song in general felt a bit more interlude-y to me. Felt like it was supposed to lead us into what we're going to hear next. But I do want to commend it for its experimentation and kind of going against the grain, against the structure that we hear in songs like 2 Weeks, Pendulum, Video Girl, etc. Let's move on to track 8, Closer. Ooh, liking how snappy the rhythm is right now. Ooh. So some of your guys' favorite things that out of all the things that I say on this channel, this is one of the favorites that I've seen you guys mention. Two things. Two things. We got the vocals in general are sounding a bit washed. They're sounding a bit wet is the production term. Like they are washed with the reverb. They're very coated in it, but the rest of the instrumental is dry. It's a bit doesn't have as much reverb, and sometimes that adds a bit of contrast to the tonal balance of a mix. Usually the trick is to have a lot of your stuff in a mix sound like it's in the same room. On here, it sounds like the vocals are in like a completely like a huge vocal room, or like a cathedral or venue, some big vocal space, and the instrumentation sounds a bit dry. And I think that's on purpose to make the song feel abstract, feel a bit more on the experimental side. Ooh, liking those hi-hat patterns. I went through a phase in like late high school, early college, where I listened to a lot of this. Like, I had a term for it, and I think it was just like indie electronic or abstract electronic. But I was listening to a lot of like Chrome Sparks, Giraffage, and there's this producer, and this person comes to mind, or maybe it's a music group. I have no idea, right? But yeah, it was like experimental electronic stuff. But if any of you have listened to this song before, I believe the group's called XXYYXX. But this kind of music, that's what this is reminding me of. Like, it's very like electronic, a little bit of soul in there, a little bit of indie, but it's just got all these, like, it puts a heavy focus on atmosphere and texture. And that kind of music is what this song is reminding me of right now. Ooh, I'm liking that guitar coming in too. It's very 80s sounding almost. It's got a bit of like chorus on it and some delay, kind of giving it more stereo width. That's a very unique instrument to actually have on this, because this is very trap heavy. It's got a lot of indie trap, like experimental trap, atmospheric trap, chill trap, whatever you want to call it. All kinds of labels for it, but it's kind of nice hearing almost this like new wavy kind of guitar thing shimmering over it. Ooh. That was cool. That had to have been one of Twigs' most creative vocal arrangements that I've heard. Ironically, coming from her first album, like I really enjoyed the amount of sort of freedom she felt that she had on that to sort of put things in places where she wanted them. And the human voice is like the most sensitive, but also most powerful instrument that we have. So to be able to use it in so many different ways to create a big arrangement like that and make it sound as experimental as it sounded right there was really satisfying to listen to. So that is definitely also a favorite for me. Let's move on to track 9, shall we? Give Up. We're starting out strong already. This feels like as if there's just all kinds of samples that were recorded, put into an Ableton session, and are just being triggered to create like this really cool, seamless sort of electropop loop.
Tell me why act this way. Tell me that I'll change someday. I'll be the one that can satisfy you if I can't rectify that.
Ooh. Second time Twigs has done this on this album, where she goes to finish a vocal phrase or something and instead has the chop take over, like the wet vocal, the affected vocal take it over completely. And I think that's a really cool creative choice. Ooh, I like that build up.
Few things I've got to change.
Ooh,
Few things
nice
I've
bass.
Okay, so I said it before and I won't reply that. You're not too close to the fact. Just nod your head and get up. I'm not gonna let you give up, hey, give up, hey. I know that sometimes you wish I'd go
What?
away.
What notes is that ARP doing? So there's a lot going on here, you guys. A lot of interesting atmospheric and mid-range choices, from instruments to vocals to production effects, you name it. There's all kinds of stuff happening here, even though it's a more low-key song, right? But I'm really adoring this like synth ARP that sounds like it's in a completely different key, but it's still working. Maybe it's in the dominant key or the subdominant key, but so like let's say the song is in C major. I don't think it is. I think it's in like A sharp or something. But like I feel like it's somewhere a little lower than that. But let's say it's in C major just for simplicity. I feel like okay, the song is being played in C major, and then that ARP is happening up here in G major, hitting that like one sharp note, or it's in F major hitting another sharp or flat note. So it's very interesting, right? Because it really opens up the colors of the song, but also adds a bit of tense sort of tension to it. Not a lot if it's in either the subdominant or the dominant scale in comparison to what the actual like main version of the song is written in. But yeah, definitely super interesting to hear. I'm interested to see if it opens up even more, or if that's really the only tease we get into this more like chromaticism thing happening here.
Just nod your head and get up.
Nice.
I'm not gonna let you give up, babe. Do I get another chance? Did I make the final stand above the one?
Is it just me, or did everything in this song get darker, moodier, more subdued? I think it's because everything's like down in pitch now, like that chop thing we were talking about at the beginning is lower than it was in the beginning.
All goes so perfect, 'cause they know how to work it. Work it.
Yeah, everything's lower in this verse. What's up with that? Because it was a little higher, wasn't it? Hold on. Yeah, that was verse 1. And now we're... Yeah, everything's pitched down. So it gives it a very moody, darker, sort of subdued feeling, regardless of how the sounds themselves are produced and performed. Shifting the key like that, even if you're just going down an octave, so it's the same notes, just an octave lower, it's it makes it feel darker, moodier, just innately, because you're used to something sounding a certain way already.
See me, baby.
Oh,
Make it hold. I know that.
I'm a big fan of when singers, regardless of skill level, regardless of range, add a layer below them and it's obviously pitched down. Like you can tell that it's like pitched down on purpose. I don't know. Even though it's a more synthetic way to process vocals, I still love it. I just think it really adds more character to the song. It makes it feel a bit more darker, moody, even if like it's a major chord progression like what we're hearing in here. This feels major, or at least like a more like happy sounding minor, like a less like darker minor, so maybe like A minor. I like hearing it because it just adds a bit more like just pleasant frequencies for my ears to listen to, makes the vocals actually feel a bit more glued to the music as well.
Sometimes you wish I'd go away, away.
Oh, so nice. I kind of like that it does the same thing too. It is literally the same melodic sequence, just trailing off into nothingness there. Yeah, I'm really liking the way that trailed out. I think, again, these last two songs have been really just kind of mind blowing in terms of what Twigs is capable of in terms of her vocal arrangements. And this is her first album, so it's actually kind of enlightening to see such artistry being laid out before me just on like a debut album like this. Really nice. Let's move on to the final song, and also one of the longer ones on here, Kicks. Oh, nice, low key vocal chops just being reversed up, creating the atmosphere already before we progress. Mm.
I feel for you. Time passes by. Feeling for you. I explore.
Ooh, what is that? So, interestingly enough, these chops are to be expected. I expected some sort of like cool like padding or cool chops, especially based on the last two songs, but it sounds so dark, so brooding, and then so like melancholy as well, like just very minor keyed, very just a very moody way to use those sounds. And then I hear this skippy beat kind of reminding me of the XX a little bit, and then we also get these like wobble, very UK future garage two-step type thing going boom boom boom. It's giving very future garage energy. Yeah, the way that it bends up too. Oh, I love synth manipulation like that. Like I instead of just placing in a sample or just playing something and call it done, I like when it's like, okay, do we want this to bend up? Do we want it to bend down? Do we want it to bend into another note? Like I like actually feeling like those thoughts were put into the performances on something like this. Ooh.
Yes, I do. Feel for you. So I
Ooh, we descended minor chords. So what I mean by that is like instead of going like down from, because most chord progressions go, I don't know, like C minor, B flat major, G sharp major, and then back up to B flat. That's a chord progression usually for a minor key to kind of give it that minor to major dynamic, right? Where you go from dark to hopeful or happy, happy, hopeful, back up to dark. This goes minor, minor, minor. So a lot of more like older house beats would have synths do that because you'd have the minor frequencies dialed in on the synth oscillators. So like your main oscillator wouldn't have any pitch adjustment to it. So it would play whatever key you're hitting on the keyboard. Your other one, so oscillator 2 would be doing the dominant note. And then your third one would be doing the middle part of the triad, making it a full minor chord. And so what would end up happening is since you're only pressing one key to trigger that, if you go down, you literally go A minor, G minor, which at that point, it's more chromatic than it is diatonic. So it kind of gives it that nostalgic, old school, two-step house sort of sound innately because those chords are making those kind of movements. They're going dun, 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 like they go down that hard half step.
it's cool
Ooh.
for me to wait for you.
And now we would go into diatonic. That is so surprising to me.
Just for you, I collect my
Ooh, a beautiful diatonic too. So what was cool is it descended like that very dissonantly. I'm talking about the chords. They descended very dissonantly like that. And then boom, now we're in this really cool major chord progression. And it didn't feel rough of a like a rough transition at all. Like it literally just went into it. Very nice, very smooth. Probably the reverb piano mixed with the reversed piano under it sort of helped that transition, made it sound a little more smooth going into it because I barely even noticed it was happening. Very nice.
Because I take your lead.
Ooh, nice.
Tell me what do I do when you're not here? What do I do when you're not here? Tell me
What are all these sounds? These are so well used. Like you guys were saying, this is definitely more of an electronic pop album than Magdalene ended up being. But I'm really enjoying how artful it is. Like it just has a lot of choice behind every single sound, and it doesn't like blend into the background very well. Instead it like puts them out on display, right? As if it's trying to show off like, hey, here's all the sounds that we have just sitting around our little musical bank here, and we're playing with all of them in just different, very abstract and cool ways. Oh, I like that chop too in the back. Oh. What is that? It's like a guitar trying to like work its way out of my my eardrums over there on the right. Oh. Do you hear that? There's like an analog synth coming up right there. Oh, it's gone. Oh, there it is. Nice. Low synth. What an experience, you guys. That was so cool. Every song on here, again, it was only 10 tracks, but every song on here gave me just a different window into Twigs' sort of artistry and what she was capable of doing in albums to follow. We're still yet to check out Capra songs, but again, this was well worth the listen, and I'm going to listen to it more to try to really dissect a lot of those sounds so that I can personally use them to my own advantage when it comes to sort of some other projects and arrangements that I've been having to make lately. So I've really enjoyed the listen through this whole thing. I thought it was very enjoyable. I think that she has a very unique voice. She has a unique sort of instrument bed. I haven't really heard anyone that sounds like her, like using all these different genres and styles to her advantage to make like avant pop or art pop, whatever you want to call it, is very inspiring to me, because I feel like the way that all of these things are used on this song or on these songs could be used in more mainstream ways for artists that are chasing that mainstream sound if they want to dive into a bit more experimental like inspiration, if you will. And the reason why I say that in particular with this album in comparison to other ones we've listened to before like Sophie is because these are being used directly in a pop or R&B context. I mean, in sometimes very obvious ways. Like sometimes there's very obvious moments where Twigs is going more pop songwriter or going more R&B and moody, and other times where it's completely not. Like, it's like I have no idea what turn the song is going to take. But so far, I mean, my favorites have to be, I love Lights On, 2 Weeks, Hours, Pendulum, Closer, Give Up, and this last song. Again, the whole album was great, but if I had to pick favorites, those would probably be it. So like most of the album was a 10 for me. That was great. Thank you guys for recommending this to me. I know it took me a while to get here. I'm trying to even remember when we made some content for Magdalene, but I really enjoyed this. And let's see if we can check out Afterglow next week. Maybe? I don't know. We'll think about it. But definitely Kicks, 2 Weeks, and Closer, as well as Pendulum. Those 4 songs are probably going to be my repeats from this album. Very good vibes, very lush production, dense production, experimental production, and also experimental vocal beds. I feel like using the human voice in ways like that is very powerful. I think there's a lot of ways the human voice is still being discovered to be used. Again, thank you guys so much for your time, and have a good rest of your day.